The Indian Banking Association has asked the RBI to cut the repo rate by 50 basis points and the CRR by 25 basis points in its policy meet later this month. The bankers say the policy transmission is possible only if the RBI cuts those rates. ET Now's Simran Gill has been tracking that meeting all day between the country's top bankers and the RBI's deputy governors. Simran, has there been an outcome of that meet? What can you tell us so far?
Well, the pre-policy meeting concluded a while back and bankers have demanded for a 50 basis cut in the repo rate, and they've also demanded for a 25 to 50 basis cut in the CRR, because bankers are of the opinion that as far as the liquidity is concerned, it's quite tight in the system right now and they're borrowing over 1 lakh crore rupees from the repo window on a daily basis. So certainly there is some room that RBI should look at even cutting the CRR in the Jan 29 policy. But as far as RBI is concerned, they really haven't given any signal as to how they're looking at tackling the liquidity deficit. But of course, they have said that they are closely monitoring the situation and they will continue to tackle the liquidity situation. And of course, bankers have clearly told RBI that until and unless there is some meaningful rate cuts by the central bank, it will be completely impossible for bankers to pass on the benefit to the borrower and to cut their lending rates. So certainly a clear message from bankers to the central bank. And of course, they also discuss issues like credit and deposit growth. Credit is, of course, you're seeing some kind of revival in the credit growth, but deposit, bankers are really concerned. It is something around, it is slumped to as low as 11%, and that is something that bankers are clearly concerned about. And lately we have seen some of the bankers even hiking their deposit rates. So certainly that could act as a hurdle when it comes to most banks looking at cutting their lending rates. And lastly, they also discuss the issue about asset quality. RBI and bankers are certainly concerned about the asset quality issues, but bankers are of the opinion that as far as the NPA situation is concerned, it has plateaued, and going forward, NPAs are just going to get better from here on. So certainly what really the central bank will do is something that we'll have to wait and watch until the 29th of January.
The bankers have actually asked the RBI to reduce the rates by 50 basis points at least. That's the first request. At the same time, they said even the CRR also should come down by anywhere between 25 and 50 basis points. If both these things happen, transmission will happen, and it's a good sign to the market that growth is going to happen in a big way. This is the key takeaway of today's meeting. And the other concerns are always, discussed in detail, like the deposit growth being sluggish is a matter of concern for the bankers. Similarly, credit also is not picking up the way it should pick up. It's about, how much, about 8% around this part of the year. So these are all the concerns which bankers are discussing.